Welcome back to the Built to Last podcast, where we're having meaningful conversations with leaders, entrepreneurs, people who live in that divide between leading themselves as well as leading the company, the organization that they're with. And this has been a long time coming. This conversation, there's multiple circles and multiple Venn diagrams of how we know Mr. Matt Symes. They go back a long time. I've heard the talk of various kinds many times, but my excitement here is I've got some general curiosity and I want to have that meaningful back and forth conversation that's hard to do at a business event or at a chamber event. And, it's how you doing, what's going on, is a bit of work front. And, but I know you especially have gone through some personal leadership and what it means to build to last as well as organizational for yourself and for others. So I'm excited to dive in. As usual, we're going to pass it over quickly to you to introduce yourself because nobody ever wants to read the bio. We also, just to add a bit of pressure, we got the advice a while ago is we're not just what we do for work. And so when you introduce yourself and just read the brass in the glass or the accolades or the history of the education, how narrow of a point of view can that be? And so when I say introduce yourself, you feel free to take that wherever you'd like to take that. Understanding this is a two-way conversation and not a soapbox. And I've done the intro. Colby and I actually come to knowing you from different directions. So I don't know if you have any pre-intro words before we dive in, Colby?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know how long it's been now. I want to say about 7 years that we've known each other.
Pretty close, yep.
About that. And we've spent a fair amount of time together, went through 2-year programs, lots of EO trips together, lots of conversations, just kind of friendly chats all over the place. And, I haven't quite met anybody like you. I mean that in a good way.
I appreciate you following that up with that comment.
Yeah, well, it's your ability to retain information and to kind of siphon it down and being able to pull it when it's needed, and just your ability to pop in and pop out and with context and deliver value is it's something I haven't really seen before, and I have valued kind of our relationship over the past X amount of years, and it's evolved in different ways, and I'm excited that we finally nailed this day down. It's only been about 9 months in the making.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll kick it over to you. How would you introduce yourself today, Matt?
I look with two guys I've known for a really long time in different contexts. It's kind of interesting to drive an introduction, but you know what? I'll say this. I am the great grandson of a subsistence farmer, the grandson of a first generation entrepreneur, a roofer. I spent my 18th and 19th summers on a roof. My dad was the first to graduate from university. I was the second. And I am a recovering academic. And I put that all together because when I left academia, I thought that was a bit of a waste of time. And what I have since found is that many of the core skills serve me in a pre-AI world, and boy, are they helpful in an AI-enabled integrated world. And so, I try to help people understand that if you knew me 10 years ago and hadn't met me since, you don't really know me. We teach evolution, we teach transformation, we teach rebirth, if you will. And if I wasn't doing it myself, I wouldn't be living true to what we're helping organizations do and then other leaders do. And I think, we live in a small community. And I'm not naive to the fact that there are people who have met me at different parts of the journey who wouldn't have positive things to say. And then there are people who have met me at different parts of the journey who would have glowing things to say. And I think it depends how you met me, under what circumstance, and that kind of fun stuff. And I think I've learned to soften the edges as I've grown. I think I've learned to bridge the gap between intention and impact a little bit more concisely. And my desire for big talk sometimes trumped the speed of trust, which I've had to learn as well. And so I think, those are all ways of getting into something to say that we all have a journey to go on as we're co-creating value in this world, and I'm no different. So that's a different intro than I think I'd normally give.
And I feel bad now because I'm going to feel a little bit like a hypocrite because you did such a good job of talking about who you are that I'm curious about how you introduce what you do these days, because you're a bit of a rabbit. Like how like you have had every time I talk to you, it's a little bit different. Like how do you answer the question of what do you do? Like what is like from a profession, companies,
Yeah.
like what's the your world look like as a snapshot, understanding it's always evolving as well.
Yeah, that's it. So we used to be a management consulting firm, and we used to make our money helping others build castles. And I would say that over the last 5 years, we've transitioned to being a relationship of convenience and necessity to building our own portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
We used to sell our time. We do that less and less. So we have three main ways that we interact in the world now. The first one is through an equity portfolio where we take patient and significant minority positions in company. And when I say that, I mean somewhere between 10 and 30% in companies. So we can be part of the long-term part of the balance sheet growth and invest it. We have a small business cohort set of programs so that we can introduce what most could never afford to a group of people that desperately need it. So small and micro businesses who need a new set of mindsets. My grandfather was a roofer who started a roofing company. Most small business owners are technical experts that start a company. Physio starts a physio company, whatever it happens to be, and they invariably run into a point where they have to understand business, and they didn't go to school for it, and they don't have access to it, and the skills are normally out of their reach to buy. So we try to make that accessible through leadership. And then we still have our consulting wing, which acts as the engine of the portfolio, but then also takes on some major transformations, talking companies that are normally doing between 50 million to a couple billion a year. And we take on between 3 and 7 of those a year, depending on what size and scope they need. Increasingly, this has all evolved around an AI roadmap. Because ultimately using AI well is to do good business strategy, to understand what workflows you're going to re-engineer and understand what skills you're going to build in your team. So good AI roadmaps are synonymous with good business strategy. They're not separate. And so increasingly, and we had to learn that. We live in transformation. We live in evolution. We didn't have a choice but to be on the leading edge of what's going on. So that's the way I would describe it today. But increasingly, and look, I'll share this bluntly on here. I've shared it openly in numerous arenas. We evolve from a couple of $1 million a year, $3 to $4 million a year as a consulting firm, to this year we should do about $35 million as a portfolio, more than 250 employees across multiple value streams, from law to mental health to physical health to cladding to coffee.
Wow. Yeah, it's nice to have those alliteration in there, cladding and coffee, right?
You just like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Coffee's the one that, that is the entrepreneur's hobby that got away. Sane people just buy a nice subscription to a coffee company. Insane entrepreneurs start coffee companies and then have to battle through what it is to actually grow that business. Took us about 6 years to figure it out. I've never been humbled more than in trying to grow a coffee roastery and a cafe.
Yeah.
Jesus,
I know a few people who have done it with bars to a similar or worse effect.
It's remarkably humbling. Something that should be very simple.
All right.
So far.
I got a whole list here, Colby. Where do you want to go in first?
Well, no, you keep going. You keep going. All good.
So you mentioned the word portfolio, and there's a similar history. Like we talk about the engine one. That's how we kind of internally refer to our core company.
Yeah.
And we looked long and hard. We even went through like due diligence a couple times around the buy a business with a succession challenge, bring in like everything we can bring in, and make it more turnkey, built to sell, whatever the words are, more modernized, ready to go. Even for the management to continue to take it over, for us to sell it or to build a portfolio. And we spent about 2 years down that road. And eventually we decided to put that effort instead into like building that, what is now our bookkeeping company, but what is that net new service? But we have enough, we didn't go down that road as far as you, but we have enough understanding just to be dangerous. My question for you is, in the portfolio, by design or by intention, what have you centralized, and are you building any cross culture across the different companies? And
Yeah.
we've recently talked to a few people with large portfolios or multi-entity groups, and we've seen a wild difference. And I'd love to know like what you've inherited or what you've designed or what's happening unintentionally.
Yeah, I think we should go back to one point at some point versus majority versus minority ownership and why we've chosen
Yeah.
the
We'll
path
go
we
there
have.
first then. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
go there. So we first went down the road of majority ownership because we believed that was the only way we could fully implement what we knew could be done at a workflow level and control it, et cetera. What we failed to give enough respect to is we then had to become responsible for operating the company.
Yeah.
And we went, wait a minute, our zone of genius is actually being separate from the company and working with motivated operators to bring them strategic clarity and to improve form, fit, or function of the workflows, the processes they have. And it's our lateral thinking and our ability to redesign workflows that is our zone of genius. Why are we taking responsibility for running the day-to-day when really you like, look, business is hard enough. And so we have found that we need to partner with people who absolutely love the content of what they're doing. And once you love the content of what you're doing, we can enable somebody like that. But to try and do it just because we can doesn't mean we should. And look, I could get into a whole conversation around the sign company where Jesus, what a lesson in terms of taking responsibility for operating. So that's why we ended up where we ended up with a portfolio. Now your question became, what are you doing to work with the different entities in the portfolio to go, where can you share? And we'll say this, in a networked organization, which is what we're building with the portfolio company, you will learn, share, and leverage where it makes sense. So there are different cultures in every one of these companies, dramatically different cultures. The law firm is a sports team, if I can use that adage, right? And there's a couple of other businesses that are more like a community. We're going to work through the different seasons of your life together. That's not the law firm. And so when you have different cultures, you can't just put in a process that works in one company into another. You kind of have to integrate. You got to learn, share, and leverage where it makes sense. You've got different people with different skills, different aptitudes, different technologies. You can bring the theory of a process, and because we can all speak workflow, because we can all speak process, the conversation is quicker, but you still have to go through the integration. Even within a company, I mean, our law firm has 4 different locations, and even to learn, share, and leverage a process within the different locations within the same company takes that same integration capability. So like how much do they overlap? Look, we're a central piece in understanding what everybody's doing. And when strategically one company has a need that another company has solved, we can connect the dots and probably get to the answer faster, but not without the effort required to integrate it to the point where you're doing it with people, not to people, and the people in the other company own it.
Okay. That makes sense. So I just like in my head, because that makes a lot more sense. In my head, I was painting pictures of like, every member of the Simverse gets, discount coffee and you all go on a management retreat. You're not building that kind of cultural pull.
Not at all.
Across.
Not at all.
Okay.
Because we're taking minority positions, we are amplifiers to the culture that we are partnering with.
Yeah.
And we will go at the speed that those operators want to go. We're not pushing the envelope. All we're doing is contextualizing, bringing stuff where it makes sense.
Okay.
Right.
Makes sense.
So thinking back to like the first time you did a partnership outside of what was once Simplicity and is I guess it's still Simplicity, but you've got Levership.
Yeah.
So maybe bring some clarity around that for me first. But going into that first partnership, were you caught off guard through a lot of that process, or like what were some of those first steps like and kind of first realizations?
Look, this has been if you had laid out the journey that we were about to head on and said, this is what you're going to do, there's no Jesus way I'd go on it again. No chance. Okay.
Yeah.
We invested in a pre-revenue biotech company and dumped a shitload of money into it. And now that's a lottery ticket. We're sitting on the IP. It spun out another company that is doing quite well that might end up doing something. So there's mistake one, right? Then we started partnering with a whole bunch that didn't require capital, but were startups, not scale-ups. Massive mistake. We're much better at scaling what already has traction than finding market fit, if you will, market product fit. So we learned that lesson. We invested $40,000 in a blue cheese company to find out that you can't compete with France and all the subsidies and that was a terrible idea. I sometimes say who likes blue cheese and people will sometimes put their hand on, I'm like, not enough of you, because we found out. Right. I'm always reminded of Roger Federer's commencement speech, which I think is just absolutely genius for an entrepreneur to listen to. And he talks, he's one of the top 5 tennis players of all time, maybe top 3 tennis players of all time. And he talks about the number of matches he won, which was, the number of matches he won was 80%. And then he talks about the number of points that he won. And it's barely above 54%. And so you start thinking a top 3, top 5 tennis player of all time is winning barely above 50% of his swings. And when I look at our journey, and I am transparent enough in my talks to give sort of the I love me wall, but then I go to the fail wall because it's just unfair to sit up there and go, look, here's all the hardware, here's all the success. None of that shit happens without those swings early on. I'm talking t-shirt companies for redheads that didn't work at all. I'm talking there is a graveyard of golf ball retrieval with an engineering device that was 95% done. When an engineer tells you something's 95% done, it's not done. It's you got 10% of the work into it. It's nowhere near done, right? And there's a graveyard of mistakes that have informed better decision-making along the way. And then you get into you start to find out where you really can add value. So you start to say, okay, so what have you learned on these partnerships? They've been very difficult to get right. But I think we're there now. Generally, with the exception of coffee, if you look at our portfolio, if you sell time and expertise in some way, we can help you do that in a much more efficient and profitable way. And whether it's coffee technicians, we actually have a company called Better Coffee that we partner with, and they fix espresso machines and they provide the maintenance to all the cafes, etc. And we've done a wonderful job in that partnership of helping them make sure they're not using, $100 an hour tech time on $5 problems. So whenever you've got that problem of time to create value, we tend to be really quick to value on that. Right. So that's where we're focused a lot of times. So professional services, etc.
But any rules have come out of this for the people side of the partnership world? Is there any, even we've talked before of because we're a 3-person partnership team. We've talked to some others who have any rules of either how to maintain or probably deselect more than select. What are the rules in play?
Yeah. So look, first of all, we're looking for technical founders with a growth mindset that really love what they're doing and want to grow the business. They don't want a lifestyle business. They want to grow the business. They've gotten to that point. They want to scale, and they want to scale beyond what they can do. And they recognize that 1 + 1 can equal 3. We fully recognize that with any of our partnerships, we can't step in and do what they can do. I can't fix an espresso machine. I can't deliver therapy. I cannot do a baseline fitness test, right? I can do a bit of business therapy, Colby, but that's about it. I can't do human therapy. At least I'm not qualified to do it.
Sometimes
There's probably some ethical lines even in that.
Probably, yeah.
sometimes they feel similar, unfortunately. Sometimes.
Yeah, well, they definitely do with business owners, etc. Business clarity is no problem. The couch is a little different. But back to that, we have to recognize they have a healthy respect for what we can bring as a technical skill, and we are always clear that we can't do what you can do. We just can help you do what you do faster, better, with less resources. We can help you scale it. We can help you systematize it. We can help you grow it, which is a really weird skill set to have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
so going through some of those, the blue cheese ideas and the golf retrieving ideas.
Yeah.
Did like at the time, how did you kind of continue to make the decision to keep driving forward? Like, was that just something that you just like built for? Was there a certain driver that you remember, like, the message in your head, or like, what was going through your head at that time?
So I'm not built for 18-month relationships. And when you're a consultant,
you're built for longer, or you're built for one night stands?
Built for longer.
Yeah, it could go either way.
Yeah. I want to be part of long-term value creation. And what's really frustrating about the consulting world is someone hears you speak, they get motivated by what you could do, or they hear some social proof, they get motivated by what you could do, and you start this wonderful relationship. And you co-create a little bit of value because you're showing them stuff they've never heard before, et cetera. But then invariably somewhere around month 6 or month 12, you're past the easy stuff and you're into the real stuff. And now there's a decision. Is there still enough pain? And do I still like this approach enough to keep going? And do I want to go to the next step of build? And normally somewhere between month 12 or 18, you start to get really expensive and the work is more difficult. And some push through. And so what kept me going bluntly is that the partners that we really worked well with as a service provider, when they got to month 36 of doing all this, their business was materially better on all fronts. Financially better, their customers were happier, their workflows were clear, they had leaders that were driving it, they were leading the leaders. It was always a good news story if we got to month 36. The problem is most people didn't get to month 36. And so we started going, and plus, you get to month 36, sure, you can get a very nice return, but you get a moment in time. And there was one company we worked with. We helped him 5x the company on the top line, 7x the net income, as 7x the net income. Like that is a material difference to what he got to take home. Like this, and his net income wasn't 0. So I'm not like, or 1. It's not like he got $7. Like it was a significant, we're talking 42 to 200 million in revenue. We're talking 7x on the bottom. And he said to me I think it was like near the end, he's like, Matt, you're an idiot. And I'm like, well, that's kind. And he laughed. And then he said, like, look, 18 months ago, I would have given you anything to do what you just did. So yeah, I paid you $500,000 to build this for me, but now I have the castle and you have to go find another me.
Yeah.
And so why aren't you coming in at the point where it makes sense and partnering? Because we've had this conversation now, but even if I was to invite you into the partnership now, you have to pay the multiple on the EBITDA you've already created. Because you're an idiot. Like, don't do that again. And I'm like, I needed that slap in the face.
Yeah.
We knew it worked enough. We knew with the right leaders, it works. We've seen it work on multiple scales. Now it was just finding the right partners who wanted to create the right win-win. We just got done doing a strategy session with one in the equity portfolio. I won't point it out because I don't want to jinx it, or I don't want to drive anything beyond that. But they said at the end of it, and the beautiful thing is, I didn't deliver the strategy session. Our team, this is at a size where the team can go deliver it. I'm just coaching the person going to deliver the strategy session now. So this is talking about scale, right? And the highlight from the team that we're working with said, we know that a year into this, we made the absolute right decision. They went from 4% EBITDA to 16% EBITDA. They doubled the top line. And we're going to double it again next year. Like it's already booked work. So look, I've already got done telling you I have as many failures as successes, but that one, you sit there and go, okay, this is starting to become less difficult.
Yeah.
Right. And you're on the same team.
And
right?
that rebirth idea that you kind of said in your your new bio, you know, what do you think the connection there is with the 36 months? Like what do you start to face prior to that 36 months that, like, you know, is to me it you know, you were saying it really gets to the good stuff or the hard stuff. Is some of that like challenging your, you know, core beliefs as a human and like how you operate, how you think?
Yeah. And the simple stuff's all done, right?
Well, the quick wins around the pricing changes to make sure you're the right price, the quick wins on the scheduling process and the picking the right people and weeding out a couple of the apples that shouldn't have been there to begin with, and that's all done. But what I will say is there's a little more distinct on the path. You like for the first 6 months, you're and you know this from the work that you do. You're bringing them new information, new lenses. You walk on water.
Light bulbs every time you talk to them.
Exactly. Like, oh my God, like how did you ever learn that? This is amazing. And then all of your lenses have been articulated. You're now into the repeat mode. And between about 6 to 18 months, they're starting to tune you out and decide whether they still want you around. Right? So the problem with consulting is you sell to get started, and then you're not just delivering and working together and decide to work together. You're constantly selling. You have to. You got to reflect the value all the time of who you are and what you've brought. Mm-hmm. And the issue with most professional services is you bring asymmetrical value, not linear value. So the issue is you have one moment on a Tuesday morning that's worth $500,000 to a company, but you gave me that on Tuesday morning. What did you give me Wednesday? Right. And that's the problem is they don't add it up over a period of time. They go, no, you like that was brilliant, but I paid you $12 for that. What's my next $12 going towards?
Yeah.
Right. So you start to you move from walking on water to being an expense, to being an expense they not sure that they really want around. You're also necessarily part of helping them see the gap between what you said you wanted to be and what you are. If you're not delicate with that, you can become the bearer of bad news constantly. Like, I'm never winning when I'm around you.
Yeah, right. Been there.
Right. So, and you have to do it because you have to let them know what the gap is, but it's this fine line between going, look how far we've come, look how much we've done together. Isn't this amazing? Now, when you're in a partnership, that shit still happens, but we know that we're married.
Well, and you also, like, I'm a big believer in that, I don't know, emotional bank, relationship balance, whatever. But but like when you have a partnership, there's more ability to build up that credit in your relationship. So the negative or the more the candor, not even the negative, the candor isn't the majority of the interactions.
No, it's not, because you're co-building a future. You're both suffering. The other thing that I will say is that when you're in a partnership, the incentive structure is aligned. When you're in a delivery system as a professional services, you are taking from the middle of the P&L and they are getting less on the bottom line, quote unquote. Yes, they're building annualized and realized return, but they are betting on the future. You're getting it today. When you're in a partnership, you're both aligned to the future state incentive structure of ROI, balance sheet build, business build. You're making investment decisions together.
Small, like, tangential question on this. Is there any like leadership or personality profiling or measuring tools that are tools that you use or feel like are go-to?
I wish I could intelligently answer this, Levi. And look, there's all kinds of things that you can do. I will ask some very specific questions about their previous failed relationships in business. Personal's fine. It's instructive, but you're probably not getting there quick. And the one thing that I have learned is that if they consistently descend into a deflection mode where it was someone else's fault why they didn't get there, you can bet your bottom dollar it's only a matter of time before you're the reason they're not getting to where they want to.
Yeah.
Right. So the only sacrosanct set of questions I ask is a number of understanding past failures, because what I want to know is how do they contend with them? Like, are we going to reflect on it, see it from the multiple angles and learn from it? Or are we going to hunt for the guilty?
Yeah.
And if they're always in an accountability hunt for the guilty, you're going to be assassinated at some time.
Yeah. And
on the list.
it kind of makes me think that a lot of those, like, you know, past that 6-month, 18-month mark, whatever it is, whenever the honeymoon phase is over, in my mind, there's usually a lot of like even if you're noticing things as a consultant, but not feel it your place to bring up certain things, like, let's just say, like in a family business, like family dynamic stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, I know that this is probably the issue, like overall, like all these things that we can get going and get other people excited, but this specific thing is going to prevent us from going forward, but I can't really say this. And then this relationship is going to fizzle out.
Look, anybody who's made it past 18 months in a transformation on a professional services has had to contend with mindsets that weren't serving them anymore. Eventually it gets to mindsets of the leaders, whether that is family dynamics, whether that is leadership dynamics, whether that is the way you're showing up as a leader. And same thing I had to go through as an evolution. I had to learn how to lead differently to get results if I was going to lead through and with people to scale anything. Right. And I don't think until I learned and started to learn how to do that internally was I able to translate that to a different way that I showed up externally.
Right.
The other thing that, you know, that I was a seconded COO of a CPG firm when we took it from 20 to 155 million. And I learned viscerally the pressures of working in the business. And I think sometimes advisors forget the everyday pressures of what it is to run a business as they're trying to improve that business, whatever it happens to be. They're like, why didn't you just do your commitments? Oh, because I had 8,000 unread emails last night. That's why I didn't do it. But until you feel that pressure. So one of the unintended benefits of us having a portfolio of companies is we will slide our designers into an operating role for 6 to 18 months within companies. And you can't get that experience theoretically. You can't. You live a senior position in an organization, you start to understand what it is to die of indigestion, to not be able to stay focused, to not like put one before the other, like all those pressures that you get in higher level positions when focus becomes premium, but there seems to be more demands than minutes and the abstract is taking over for the tangible. Like people have to live that before they have compassion for others living it.
The abstract taking over the tangible is a very interesting way to say that. That is, that's dead on.
It's like we talked about this briefly in person, I think not long ago, but I think we've been repositioning, and a lot of it comes down, I think, well, in my head, I won't speak for everybody on the team, but it's like we were helping people in a similar way on some fronts. And to be honest, I got tired of selling the shoulds and the leading people and I get it. And once in a while I was getting but where I was getting jazzed and where I thought we were better, definitely my whole team was much more confident, was just helping people do the homework. The busy people renovating the ship while sailing, whatever the analogy is, of like helping those busy people make actual habit and day-to-day process changes after the decisions and directions are made. And like we call it now like helping people with their foundations. Like some of those core things, put them in place. Like, you know, it's not glorified work, but it's like the two parts have to work together. And there's a lot of organizations that don't have the ability to do that internally, even if the leaders are all bought in.
Look, what needs to be done with business fundamentals and habit change, whether it's personally or professionally, is not rocket science, but doing it seems to be.
Yeah.
You want to create wealth, it's not terribly difficult. Put $100 a month away from the age of 18 and put it into some index fund and let it sit.
Yeah.
But none of us did
Yeah.
that, right? Like,
No.
you want a six pack, it's not rocket science.
Yeah. Everybody could tell you exactly how to do that.
Exactly. And with unmetered intelligence and access to AI, knowledge has even less value than before.
Yeah.
Now we're really seeing who can integrate knowledge to create habit change or workflow change to create the value for the changing needs in the market, and who can consistently do that. And it's boring fundamentals around core workflow areas that allow businesses to succeed. And then once you get the habit mapped, it's asking the honest question on whether it's still producing the value that it could. So where's the reflective loop around that? And if you do those two things, understand the fundamental and ask the question around it, you are in a world or a league of about the top 2% of businesses.
Yeah. I'm not going to say we're perfect in any way, but it has been very fascinating because I hear my team talking, it makes it more impactful for me, is because we're, starting growing the bookkeeping, and it's different, but like we were so over engineered on the fundamentals because of the work we did that it was like we've had our first client onboarding, and, it was not that long ago. And our team members at the end of the call is like, is that it? It's just because we have such more complicated, just like it's done and all the work's going and everything, and she's like I'm gonna be able to handle dozens of these accounts and focus on them. What else is there? It's like, it's just because so much of the basics day to day we have been working on, and now we applied it to a much more straightforward business. It's going to be interesting. I'm excited. I mean, it's not going to be unstressful. It's not going to be easy because we're bootstrapping it probably more than any other reason. But it has been a very interesting comparison, engine one to engine two.
And this is what makes a scalable business, right? When you move from everything being a science experiment to I've got the ideal client.
That resonates, doesn't it, Colby?
You get the ideal client who has a problem you've solved, and you have a way to quickly fix that problem.
Yeah.
That's gold.
Almost feels like cheating, to be honest, in a safe space between us and, nobody, I'm sure, watching.
Well, the funny part is like, there was my mindset around Ironhouse Pro work, the kind of change management consulting side, and the sales cycle around that. Yeah. And that's been kind of hammered into me for the last few years. Bookkeeping, we've had more calls in the last 2 to 3 months and got to know faster. Got just the quotes being put out because we've built those systems and stuff. And I'm like, okay, I need to start changing my mindset around what's possible.
Oh, you hit gold. Okay. I tried to start a bookkeeping company and I failed miserably at it. So
we might still.
Sure.
Hold on.
Hold my beer.
You're going at it more intelligently than I did. I hired high-priced labor and couldn't get the market to pay the high price, and I was going into shit shows that were already disasters. So, look, I wouldn't take my experience at it, because people who call us to generally 90% of the people who call us, they're on their knees. And let me tell you, their books look the same. I don't know what the hell they've had for advice. So look, I think you've got a better shot at it. I've had the luxury of having the conversations with Colby around how you've set that up. I think it's really intelligent. It is a very important part for every business. And most businesses struggle to invest the dollars they should weekly and monthly in bookkeeping, and they pay the price annually by the lack of clarity, and quarterly by the lack of clarity strategically. So, I don't know how to help businesses understand that for a little bit more money per month, you can have at least anchored anxiety because you have clear numbers. Unless, you're not going to, You either have unanchored anxiety, you don't know where you're nervous as hell because you don't know where the hell the problem is, or you have anchored anxiety, you know where the problem is, and at least you can do something about it.
Yeah.
Good bookkeeping
Get rid of the
gets you to
clouds.
the second one.
Yeah. If you're, you might as well have the truth and be worried.
Right. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Instead of the stories you tell yourself when you can't see the numbers.
Yeah, which are often worse. So my favorite saying, I might have made it up, nothing's as good as it seems and nothing's as bad as it seems.
Yeah.
I want to pull you back to something you said earlier. You said it twice, and I want to pretend I'm somebody's grandmother. So, like, don't call me an idiot, but I want you to explain it in your terms as clear as possible. What you mean by the speed of trust? Because I think I know what you mean, but I think that's worth slowing down a minute on.
Yeah.
Because I think that's somewhere where I know a lot of people who, if I understand correctly, should be listening to that.
So it took me a long time to get my head around how to actually build trust to where we are on a playing field where we can talk about real stuff without the pomp and circumstance. Where can we have candid conversation? And we want to have candid conversation together. And Francis Fry and Ann Morris write some of the most important books out there. They write one called Uncommon Service, which every leader should read for market positioning because it talks about attribute maps. They write another one on leadership and how to build trust. And Francis Fry came in to help rebuild and stabilize Uber after the disaster in there. And she wrote a wonderful piece on trust that came out in a TED Talk that finally calcified for me how to see trust. And she said it's built on a tripod of empathy, logic, and authenticity. So 3 things you need to bring. You need to know your shit, you need to be real about it, and you need to care about the other person. Okay? And we all have a wobble. Okay? And by a wobble, we all have one of those 3 that is not our strength. And if you don't know where that is, that's the first sign of danger, because you're probably stepping in piles of manure you don't need to. But I, for a long time, did not realize the degree to which my wobble was hindering my ability to build trust. And you guys have known me for a long time. It's not going to be rocket science when I say which one of those 3 is my wobble.
Yeah, but neither of us want to label it anyway, so.
No. But that's because you're both empathetic and I struggle with that. Okay. So thank you. But the reality is empathy. And it took me a long time. It took me a lot of personality tests, actually. And the Taze personality test helped me see something that I didn't realize. So I have top 1% processing speed, which is a bit of a party favor, because it means I get to my conclusions. They may not be right, but I get to them very fast, which also means I already assume that you care about me and I care about you, but I haven't done the work to show that to you. And I was making that mistake over and over and over again. And then when I would get challenged on it, you know, when you can feel that, like, shit, we were having a good conversation and now, like, we're not. Like, the trust is not as high as I thought it was. Mm-hmm. And most of us double down on our strength. So here I am citing 703 studies, and the person I'm trying to cite it to does not give one shit about those 703.
This isn't Colby you're talking about, is it?
No. Although I do think Colby and I went through a period of that, actually. I do think if we really got raw here, we went through.
I'm now the guy who cites the studies, so I've been that in this.
Yeah. And,
no, I didn't know how to process you.
Yeah.
In my head. Like I do now. But because you're able to kind of get to the conclusions so quickly, and I'm such a relationship person.
Yep.
That, like, you know, I wanna hang out, you know,
before we talk about the real stuff. Yeah.
Two dozen times and whatever, to a fault. And I have to look at that now where, you know, that's another thing. But
I've had to say the words like, that relationship's pretty warm now, Colby. Like, I don't know if it needs more stuff. It's pretty hot stuff right now.
We double down on our strength in the moment where we should probably look at our wobble. And that was the lesson for me. The lesson for me is when I hit friction in trust, I had to slow down and make sure that the other person knew that I cared about them, knew that I cared about their problem, knew that I had heard them. And look, processing speed and intelligence, they correlate, but they're not causation. So I've dealt with some extremely intelligent people that are really slow processors. What that means is we have to find a different way to communicate so that we can hear each other. And, so when I talk about the speed of trust, I'm talking about the point where do we not question each other's motives? And where are we into it to co-create value and we're never looking at our six? Military term for I'm never looking behind me worried that you're actually one step away from stabbing me.
Yeah.
Right? And where do I know that you are thinking about my best interests at least as much as yours, but ideally more than yours? And that's where I think you have trust.
Yeah. So I mean, you were a little bit vulnerable there and sharing, but like I got the exact same tests. I have the exact same problem. And like, let's not say them because we're all very unique snowflakes, I'm sure. But like I got that, especially from the chef cooking world before going to business, same thing. First time I did like personality tests and like 5 dysfunctions, I'm telling my wife was my business partner. I was like, I think I'm this guy out there who's like always making change and never coming back and like doing the trust thing. It's like, oh yeah, obviously. Like she tells a story of like, you just walked around 8 people in the kitchen in the front of house and told them what they were doing wrong and how they can fix it. And then I walked behind them and said, do you understand what you need to know? Do you understand that he likes what you do? It was like rebuilding the burnt bridges. Not recently, but the last 6 months, I had a personality test. I think it was, I don't want to attribute wrong, but I think it was the Mesh Diversity folks, because they're part of that program I'm in where I last met you. But they did a little bit different behavioral science assessment. I'll do any of those things. I'm always curious. But they divided EQ into a few separate measures.
Okay.
I scored top 1 percentile on EQ accuracy, the ability to like effectively read the room and feel the room and understand what's at play. And then the follow through implementation was dismal, and it was done by choice effectively. I was like, no, I know what's going on, but I have to but I don't have to work for that. I know the emotions in the room, acting upon it and taking that extra step, taking the extra time. Takes a pause, takes a muscle.
Well, and I have created forcing functions in my life to slow down, sink into those and reminders. And I'll share very openly 2 forcing functions. 1, my slide deck always has to default to vulnerability and empathy so that it stops me and I connect with the audience. I have no problem talking about any of my failures, but I had to put the fail wall in so that I didn't look like some impenetrable ass that looked like a know-it-all on stage. Like, Jesus, if I have had any success, it's because of those failures. I knew that, but I wasn't saying that openly. So I became sort of this weird bulletproof version that wasn't helpful. When you become a version of something that looks like you're bulletproof, people want to shoot you. They want to kick you. They want to kick the stage out from under you. They want you to get off your high horse. You're not connecting with anybody. So I deliberately had to put those things in. The other things that I share very openly, and you've both seen this, is I will share deep, torturous, personal things I've gone through because I can't cheat the emotion in that. I can't. Like every time I go there and I talk about my dad and his passing and how I used AI to help me get through that, in terms of like building up in the last 73 days of his life, I struggle to get through that without choking on my words. And I need those moments to make sure everybody knows that, like, look, maybe I am 96% cyborg, but I'm still 4% human and I can relate to you on the human side. The other thing is learning. So Warren Rustin, and I could drone on about Warren Rustin. Colby, you've had the good fortune of meeting Warren a number of times. Warren is one of these people that I've spent probably 2 days total of my life with, and he's, outside of my grandfather and father, the most important influence on my life. He started to help me understand two things. First, how we receive acknowledgement. So, if you haven't read the 5 love languages and you don't read it tomorrow as a business leader, there's a version of it, read it, because you generally give appreciation as you want to receive it, not as the other person needs to see it. Changed my relationship with Emily forever. And the second thing is Gottman's magic ratio, understanding the degree of chips you have to put in an emotional bank account in order to build a relationship with most people. And I have a forcing function where I am consistently looking to acknowledge people's success in this world and maintain those relationships with my key relationships. It's not an inauthentic thing. It's something I would want to do, but I learned very quickly that if I think it as a leader, but don't communicate it to the other person, it doesn't matter that I thought it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've found myself in that situation many a times.
Yeah. And so but look, some may go, like, you had to build that into your system. Yeah, I had to build it into my weekly system because it wasn't natural and it was my wobble. So maybe that's a bit more on the speed of trust, but those are the things that, like.
I was more on the opposite side. Like I was like very much relationship driven, would sit and listen to anybody for too long a time and not think anything of it. And often a lot of those things give me energy and I'd like to make people leave that conversation feeling better.
Yeah.
But I didn't always necessarily know why I was doing it. And on the work side,
neither did I.
Maybe I still don't. But like reverting back to your strengths, right? Like it kind of goes back to that. But being able to recognize that and go like, oh, I'm doing that thing again. Why am I doing this right now? Like, let's pull back a little bit. But on the work side, having ideas or talking about things, but being able to actually show the work and, put things down on paper and how do I relay this to a team rather than think about it and talk about it and then 6 months goes by and then it's gone. So that was me on the other side. It was just like there'd be thoughts and conversations that didn't translate into reality at all. Yeah, that's fascinating.
It's like one of our partnerships the other day, he said, look, like, and we worked with them for 2 years before we became a minority partner. I mean, one of the benefits of leadership is we get an introduction to a whole bunch of businesses and we get to actually see how they respond to pressure, what their true ambitions are, not their stated ambitions. It's great. We get to help. But he said, look, for 12 months, I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, what the hell's in it for you? You can't possibly be just wanting to help us. Like, I know we're paying you, but we're not paying you that much because leadership is like $1,500 to $3,700 a month. It's decimal dust compared to the amount of time we spend to drive it. And he said, I just kept waiting for the other shoe to drop and it just never dropped.
Yeah.
It was like you just always, it didn't matter what was going on. You were working with 3 or 4 companies that looked and smelled like us, but you were helping all of us. It was just this, and it took me forever because I don't trust anybody. And then it just kept being consistent. And we finally said, Jesus, this makes no sense not to invest further in this relationship. But you can't really, the speed of trust can be 10 minutes or it can be 18 months. And with some of our partners, the best ones, honestly, we both go at our pace and then we meet for the conversation. Right? There was another one where I had never met the guy in person and I had never delivered a single thing to him. And we had a directional agreement for a partnership over coffee in the morning after him having worked with our team for 10 months. I'd never met him. So the speed of trust can be the 18 months, the 42-minute coffee.
Yeah.
I've had both, right? Yeah. And both are wildly successful businesses in our portfolio right now.
Yeah, it's like just like even just measuring, like taking a moment to measure where it's at versus like how time it is. Like just do like the oil check.
Yeah.
Just let's double check.
Where are we?
Yeah. I want to pull you back to something else you said. I took lots of notes on your bio. It was a great bio. we've had recent conversations, and I've recently talked to people who really are, I would almost say, anti-academic, especially from the entrepreneurial world. Like they
Yeah.
didn't go through education, and so,
Yeah.
and I'm a learner, and I'm not I did enough degrees to like understand what that is, but none of
Yeah.
them really helped me day to day that much. Um, but I would love to know if you could go further on. You said some of the skills I learned in academics are helping me push. I'm
Yeah.
paraphrasing badly, but I would love to understand some of those skills that you brought
So,
from academia that are
yeah.
helping you today in entrepreneurial world.
So when you pursue a PhD,
Yeah.
okay, you are basically, if you think about the sum total of human knowledge, you're driving a pimple on the edge of human knowledge somewhere on just about any topic, right?
It's a
So
great
you
visual
are
for a PhD. So yeah, I like
right, piled higher and deeper. A lot of PhDs are like the topics are insane. I mean, it was one of the
Yeah.
topics that I read that the reason I left academia was it was literally a manuscript on left-handed nunnery over a 4-year period in Spain in like the 15th or 16th century. And there's some interest in that because if you're left-handed, the devil was in you. But it's not a 300-page manuscript, and good brains working on that is almost insulting. But somebody will dig that up, and then I'll get
Tell
in
us how
trouble
you
for that.
really feel.
Well, yeah, exactly. But it was at that point where my dad was getting ready to he wanted a different legacy for the last sprint of his life, and he gave me a call and said, "Do you want to if I retire early, is there any chance you'll come home and we can start Simplicity?" My brother, him, and I, and we had talked about variations of that for about the last 6-7 years when we were on golf trips once a year. It was the only time the three of us got together and we had wildly different conversations. You're thinking about like an academic who's studying history and a forester who's in the woods and my dad who's sitting around a VP table. So you can imagine the collision, and all of us with firm opinions held firmly at that point. They're more lightly now, but at that point they were all firm opinions held firmly, and boy, were we wrong with a lot of our firm opinions. But anyway, to come back to the academic question that you're asking, the edge of knowledge requires you to understand what's known and what's not known. It requires you to understand primary, secondary, and tertiary sources. It requires you to understand what is conjecture and what is fact. It also requires you to understand that most things are not actually fact, and even fact has perception on what did that matter. And with different time continuums, they mean different things. What looks really stupid over a 6-month period is genius over a 6-year period or a 12-year period, right? And we're seeing a lot of that today, right? Like, if you think about the 90s and you think about Bill Clinton's economic miracle, it was largely built on outsourcing manufacturing to China. How's that feeling today, folks? Right? It created a lot of immediate value, but was that the right global decision over a longer period of time, right? So especially history, Churchill said, the further you can look back, the further you can look ahead. And the first time that I saw this really help us was when the pandemic came out. Goldman Sachs, Warren Buffett, they're all talking about a 6-week time period. I knew enough to look back and go, when's the last time that we actually saw anything like this? Happened to be the Spanish flu in 1917. You look at it, there's a video of me talking about this about 6 weeks into the pandemic, or even earlier than that, saying, folks, if this is anything like 1917, we're going to go through multiple waves. We're going to have regions respond to this differently. It's going to look like we're all on the same team, and then it's going to be chaos. So you as a business owner are going to have to navigate multiple changes in direction, etc. So you got to get ready to pull that in. That was a moment where my history degree helped see a different picture than others were maybe looking at. Okay. And so when I think about the world we're into now, when I think about a world where you have knowledge on tap or access to unmetered intelligence, it is no longer a game of just you doing it a bit better. It's actually a game of saying, this is the workflow I want to be better at in this type of industry. What are the best in the world at doing? And that Gartner research that used to cost you infinity and was available to like 3 people is now free if you know how to research and you know how to get through the AI slop to the real stuff. And you can now go, the best in the world are doing it this way, and this way. We're doing it this way. Okay. What are we going to do to get to here?
Mhm.
That is a superpower when knowledge is free.
Yeah.
Because everybody else is arguing about how to do it 10% better, and you're doing it 200% better because you've immediately accessed what the best in the world are doing and been able to translate it to a workflow compared to your workflow and go. So when I talk about how academia has helped, it has helped in being able to see the signal from the noise, maybe a little bit quicker, and to ask maybe a little bit better questions around that.
Yeah, asking better questions was on my list for sure. Just a quick spin on this, little pivot on a similar area. I love your thoughts with the rapid change of access to knowledge, and I would say education. What's the future value of academics? Like if I have somebody with high academics and research, like what's that like 5 or 10 years ago? Like we stopped a few years ago. Like we want to know if people wanting to work for us go to school, but it's no longer a measuring criteria that makes a decision on a hire.
Yeah.
That's a 10 or 15 year change. What do you think about the value of going to do a degree and advanced education in the future?
This is a really interesting question. Look, the only reason why we liked to hire people with degrees and degrees that dealt in the abstract, so chemical engineering degrees or arts degrees, is because they needed to be able to grapple with a truth that they couldn't touch. So that was one mental value that we like. In the world of working with workflows and invisible handoffs and all that stuff, that was one qualifier that we found had a lot of success. Ironically, business degrees didn't do well with us because they couldn't,
Us either.
geez, it was awful. So
hospitality and proven track record of learning. That's the two things for us.
What we also liked about a degree was it proved that they could make a multi-year commitment to something and finish it.
Yeah.
Okay. So can they contend with the abstract and can they finish something that has compounding value over multiple years? So that we can translate that into multiple versions of what does education look like in the future. We're entering a really interesting era where technical knowledge is secondary to your ability to acquire and use knowledge in a deep way, not a synthetic or shallow way, but in a deep way. I believe we are still going to have to cognitively train people. And I don't believe with the defects in the human brain that happens through, a bunch of self-directed learning online. It will for some, but there's some guidance here. And look, if we talk about brain development, we talk about a fully developed brain, arguably at 25. There's still some good literature that suggests we're still continuously developing that brain. But let's say that 25 is generally the age where the big movements are complete. Not using any technical terms here, but I've worked with a number of psychiatrists and psychologists.
I'm still the grandmother. It's good. It's good.
Exactly. Yeah. So I believe there is exceptional value in deep mastery and going deep in some subject matter to learn it and learn what it is to become a master at something. How we get that is up for debate. I still think, I still believe an arts degree, if you're pursuing it for the journey and for the educational component, not for the grades, is worth it. But the minute that you make the outcome the objective, it ceases to be useful. Right? And we got professors who, look, I have talked with a number of them, and they're kind of this weird version of like anti-AI. And I remember talking to one liberal arts university, and, they were talking about how they were going to go anti-AI and all that stuff. And I said, that's great, but then the market's going to decide how to support you. I can tell you, I, for one, am not hiring anybody coming out because you're not preparing them to contend with the real world, number one. So I want you to teach them how to dance with this. And I showed them, like, there's a great platform out of New Zealand that has like 5 stages of contending with AI in academia and how to still make it something, like no AI in planning, AI in execution, AI in editing. Like there's a lattice work on how to do this. And like good academics who are worried about left-handed nunnery in Spain, they want nothing to do with this and they want to pretend it doesn't exist, right? So that they can still have their stuff. So that's a long-winded way of saying, I really do believe in mastery. I really do believe in development of the brain and development of cognition to be able to contend with the ridiculousness that AI is today.
Wow. Yeah, because Kana said something the other day to me. She was like, "Oh, I want our kids to be able to, like, choose whatever school they want to go to and have a degree." And it kind of sat me back. I was like, right, like, what's a degree going to be worth, 15 years from now?
Yeah.
And I had no answer.
No.
I have no regrets doing linguistics and then business degree, but I also don't feel very good that it was pushed on me so hard as the only option leaving high school.
No. I think
it's a different world now, but it is going
Yeah.
to become a different world.
Yeah, and I have the benefit of having an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old and really thinking about this stuff in a meaningful way. And there are certain things that I want them to experience and certain things that I don't want to subject them to. So music, team sport, individual sport, chase their curiosities to a level of mastery while it still serves them. Don't stick with something that's no longer serving you, but don't give up on something because you reached the hard part. Right. So that is a general ethos. And then, okay. And there are things like music early on for the brain that I can go learn it now, but it does not do to the brain what it does when you learn it at a young age. I can never recapture what my daughter missed. And I had a real conversation with my 8-year-old and she's like, "Dad, I don't really like piano." And I'm like, "I get it, but you're doing it." I get it. And I said, "What's my job?" And she goes, "Your job is to keep me healthy and safe and to help me learn how to be healthy and safe." I'm like, "Exactly. Healthy and brain."
Now play piano.
Right. I can play piano. You may not like the movement of it. I need you to get this from a brain. And you know, what's funny is we can have that. And she goes, "Okay, I get it, Dad." And we're good to go. Right now, God knows what the youngest is going to say, because Audrey's got a little bit, you got the rule follower, and then you got the second one that the first one convinces you can be a parent, and the second one roars at your ignorance. So,
Well,
we'll see.
You might have to get her a drum kit.
Yeah, probably where it's going, Colby. Yeah, probably where it's going.
Yeah, I think, like, I learned music. I played music my whole life, and never really understood at some point I wanted to be a rock star, of course. And then, that reality kind of hits. But thinking back to it, just like the analogies and what I'm able to pull from that experience has been, pretty life-changing.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great. And you get to, make some noise with your friends, which is good.
I mean, I think if you look at what I hope for my children is that they get all of the small T trauma that they decided to endure, getting cut from sports teams, just the stuff that they decided to go through, the friction of mastery, and had to deal with the small T trauma of success and failure and not quite getting it, having to restart and all that stuff. That's what I want for my children, because that's the type of resiliency that this world absolutely requires. There is no pathway now. This whole pathway of get a safe job and that is gone. Absolutely gone. We're headed towards a gig economy. We're headed towards subcontractors. We're headed towards person and machine value creation, increasingly agentic capabilities. There is no that sort of false 50 years where there was a pathway to create safe return for you and your family. That's gone. Anybody who doesn't know that now is living in a dream world.
Yeah. I'm just going to double click on the phrase small T trauma and how, but like, I've never heard that before, but like, I call it road rash. Like, it's just having some level of life history and experience that.
When I look back at my ability now to stand in the unknown and stand in conflict and stand in creative abrasion, I didn't give enough credit to refereeing hockey, where every time you blow the whistle, you're 50% wrong from the age of 14 onwards. I didn't give enough credit to playing competitive golf where you have to calm yourself down to hit a shot and you have to learn how to stand. There's no one out there to save you. In a team sport, you can look around, and you can get that in multiple ways. But those are two things that I look back and go, I decided to get to a level of competence that put me in pressure-filled situations at a young age that I had to contend with, that I do believe have been very helpful on reflection of how to stand in those in a different circumstance in a boardroom.
So after piano lessons, golf lessons.
She actually, ironically, she's dragging me to the golf course. That brought me back to the game this year. It took too long before, but now she's dragging me back. So
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Colby, I got a random outlier question. So before I go there, where's your head?
Well,
at?
just while you were talking about golf, I was thinking about golf the other day and why
you think about golf every day.
I do. Yes.
Yeah.
I just bought a simulator for my garage, Matt.
Amazing.
It's awesome.
If you didn't live in Miramichi, I'd get there more often, but
yeah, it's still a little rickety and dangerous. I almost took my head off twice, but that's all right. We'll get there. But I was thinking about golf the other day and why I like it so much, and why I liked mountain biking so much when I was kind of feeling stressed or just needed to go do something. Yeah. And it's because I think now, besides the fact that you're using your body, I think it's because I've got a clear path in front of me. My goal is right there, and I have to progress. I know where the end is, and my brain likes that.
Yeah.
And now I'm doing a lot of deep reflecting on that of like, okay, well, what are the gaps missing in the other goals that I have of like creating that clear path? And I never told you that, Levi, but that's something I've been kind of messing around with over the last little while of why I liked those things so much. And
you're just trying to convince me to get golfing. It'll work someday, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Find something else, Levi. Like Jesus, it's self-induced torture. It's
I can only have so many habits.
Yeah.
So random question, because it might completely flop, but you're a thinker, and I hope to God with your background right now that you're also a reader. Because if you're not a reader and that's your background, that's not okay.
So I have to do this every time because people actually think it's a fake thing. And then I also have to show them like, yes, I read them dog-eared. Like it's not a fake, it's not a COVID background. Right?
And I didn't even question it with you, but like for a lot of people,
yeah,
that would be like, or it would be 50% repeats.
Yeah. Those are.
So thinking to the future.
Yep.
Thinking in the realm of business.
Mm-hmm.
What are problems or opportunities that we think are coming that we've never seen of before?
Interesting.
Anything come to mind?
So a lot of people who come to my initial AI talks are fearful that they're going to lose their job, and with it, their identity of how they create value. Okay. And that is probably the number one blocker, the bigger the organization is. It's fear. I remind people in this moment of the Luddite fallacy. And the advent of new technology, it's very easy to see what we're going to lose, but it's very hard to see the new value we're going to create and the skills that are going to be required as a result of that. When we went from the cart to the car, it was really easy to see we weren't going to need as many buggy whips. It was very hard to see all of the new opportunities that would be created with convenient travel. Right? Everything from gas stations to tourists to ice cream shops to drive-thrus to I am a firm believer. I don't believe in what Elon Musk is saying. There's really some strong evidence to point that, maybe we're living with AGI today, but that's what all the people in AI want you to see. We certainly aren't at ASI, and the field is divided that we're never actually going to get to artificial superintelligence with the current pathway we are with neural networks, where we can get to what's called recursive self-improvement. What that means is the AI can improve itself. It doesn't require any human interjection. Look, we've got breakouts going on and some weird stuff going on. We're living in a sci-fi novel for sure. But I do strongly believe that we are going to find new ways to create value. And some people tend to forget that Keynesian economics and the idea that we should maybe moderate the ebbs and flows of the economy is a relatively new concept. And that is sort of a post First World War, but only brought on by the Great Depression, where the state got involved in driving economic activity. And then we started to go, okay, maybe we shouldn't let the cliffs and valleys happen just by the free market economy, and we should maybe moderate some of this. And we rebuilt basically the constructs of an economy. So I have a fair amount of confidence that we are going to create new forms of what is valuable. It is going to be a bit jarring as we get there. And we happen to be living through a moment that is extremely jarring, because skills that took us a lifetime to acquire, the black box with the right framing can do for you in 38 seconds, right? I tell the story of the balanced scorecard that we used to create, and we could charge about $250,000 to create that for larger companies. I won't get into the longer story, but we can build a balanced scorecard in about 10 to 20 minutes now, and there's nobody paying us $250,000 to do it. But where we're getting the money now is to take the visibility of the balanced scorecard and to go integrate to create more value, which I actually think is exciting. So you got to be able to stand in ambiguity and go, what new value are we going to create? How do I create that? Now, if you're asking me for predictions and projections on the other side of that, I don't have a magic 8-ball for you. But I do.
Nobody ever does.
No. But I do think if you stay close enough to the leading edge, not the bleeding edge. The bleeding edge is where no one understands you and you get run over and you spend too much money on shit that doesn't work yet. But if you stay close enough to the leading edge and you're a fast follower in whatever vertical, and you understand how to see your world outside in, from the value you create to the customer to the way you create it, then I think you're going to be able to catch up quickly.
Yeah.
With this one caveat. It really does feel like some of the last trains out of the yard are going when it comes to AI. And the reason why I say that is it used to be that if you could write an email and you could ask a good question, you could benefit from AI quite well. But as we move from assistive AI, which is the chatbot interaction, to agentic integrations, which is where it's doing multitask and you actually have it doing like full workflows for you, the vocabulary, the nomenclature is changing, and it's becoming inaccessible to people who haven't followed the journey. And so it does really feel like there's the last couple of trains here on, and maybe I'm just thinking that.
Well, I'm definitely, because our mission for a lot of people, and our mission for me in the last couple of years has been removing me as the bottleneck. So like I can do work, but the work doesn't have to be done by me. It's been always like, we always talk about that. But now, like, I'm much deeper into the day-to-day systems and like the agentic and the chief of staff and all those automations around. And but now, like, I have work is like I can do that in 30 minutes, but I can't pass it off to a team member very easily right now. And so it creates this like there's solvable problems ongoing, but it's creating a dependency piece.
It is, and if
I'm reverting to a certain degree.
Yep.
Yeah,
and so I'm worried about businesses who are not actively integrating AI to clean up bottlenecks in their business. I'm worried about that, because you can create redundancy and resiliency. You can write the SOPs. You can you've just got to get your head look, is it going to swing a hammer yet? Not yet. It's close, by the way. It's much closer than anybody wants to admit. But look, whatever hammer you swing, whatever technical aptitude you have, fine. Don't let it go there if you don't want to, even though it could. But make sure that all of the enabling parts of your business, marketing, sales, that is benefiting from it. So at least you understand the vocabulary, so that when it does come for your technical trade, you're ready to embrace it, not dismiss it.
Yeah. I mean, at my core, I won't be owning a business in the hospitality sector, or I will be single. But that being said, you never get out of me. I'm a line cook with a business degree, and I'm a hospitality guy at the center. And I look at that industry often, and aspirationally, or interestingly, but also aspirationally, I think I'm hoping what I feel is to be true, that there's a push towards more human experience in some of these human touch points. And that's not just restaurants, hotels, tourism, bars, restaurants, but it's also, I think, like in the retail experience, there's a demand for some of the more inhuman, but there's also a growing intolerance for lack of convenience brought by technology. So like they want the slow human restaurant experience. But if you can't schedule online quickly, F you.
Correct.
Or I want the in-person helpful person helping me walk through the store and try stuff on and talk to a human. But if your inventory is not online, F you. And I think that's going to be, I think if somebody brought up theater, like in-person theater, I think is going to have a comeback. I hope, like those experiential things. But if I can't see when you're playing and buy the ticket, you pick my seat. So there's going to be this interesting marriage of experiential moments, but smartly integrated for the new tolerated standard usage.
Totally agree.
I spent a lot of time kind of thinking about how they're going to build together. But there's going to be, I hope there's going to be a demand. Like I hear story, it's probably Asia, but the like hiring a walker. I just want to go for a walk with somebody, or hiring people to hang out with. Just because those human services are going to become a thing.
And if you look at, so I can tell you from a skin in the game, wallet consequence position, that is true. Very true. We are seeing that with Epic. So both on wholesale and on retail, we want experiential retail. We want human connection. But if I can't buy, like we had to fix our website, we had to fix our view, our booking process had to be seamless. Like people are expecting Amazon-like performance from micro businesses. And then they want to walk in and support local and be just enthralled by hospitality. And let me tell you, the people who are exceptional at the hospitality standpoint are very rarely also exceptional at building the website that has up-to-date inventory. So how we've had to cobble Epic together is a whole podcast on its own. But I'll tell you, the one benefit of having been involved in these 9 businesses where we have it is I get a visceral look at a number of different value streams and where they're moving. And it has been instructional, is probably the most academic term I can use, but it has also been consequential to understanding where the market is going and what people are valuing. And I see what you're saying with hospitality. I really, it is. And if you look at all of our business bets, bluntly, all of the technical delivery are anti-AI. Family law, psychiatry, baseline physical fitness. Okay. There's a subtrade construction, coffee. They're all very difficult things to automate. And then in behind, we're using AI to drive all the supporting infrastructure, all the supporting workflows. So that the technician can spend time technically executing, whether it's the barista who drives it. And you know the benefit of being able to do that? Like, I'm very proud to say that we have 5 full-time staff at Epic who are on salary, have benefits, have vacation. That's not the norm in hospitality. The norm is hospitality is ride the hours.
The norm of hospitality is broken.
Totally
we just
broken.
haven't yet. We're like we're hovering above rock bottom, waiting to see what comes new.
Correct.
If I could find a way for us or me individually to help the smallest independent people who make up the businesses that cause me to want to visit cities, then I would go do that. But right now they don't have money because they might not survive. Like I've got to find a way. We need to make money so that I can philanthropically help that particular business.
Yeah.
Someday. That'll be my nonprofit. It's just helping cool restaurants.
Colby, don't let him get there too quick, right? He's going to stop you from talking too much to people and sinking in. You're going to stop him from doing that.
Listen,
and then again, remember, I'll be single if I go too far down.
You don't want
this. The amount of times that I've heard over the past 6 months, Colby, you should go start a restaurant. It's just like, it's hilarious to me. I'm getting that a lot. And I'm like,
that hasn't got easier.
I'm not getting into this conversation. It's usually just where it ends, but it's
it's like my business brain conflicts so much with my heart in that industry.
Totally
of
agree.
what I want. And then anyway, it's a whole other
Levi, we
topic.
can talk exact numbers of what it'll cost you to do that over 6 years. And I can tell you it's not less than 7 figures. So
No, I know. So I tell a lot of people that my retirement plan is to make enough money that I can retire and have $1 million I can light on fire by opening a bar, restaurant, cafe that I could do whatever the fuck I want and not need to make a dime.
that's
And it's just
exactly the amount you'll have to light on fire. And I'll be happy to sell you coffee when you do that.
yeah. Yeah, someday. And I keep picturing myself as the bartender in Boondock Saints, the guy who was in Fraggle Rocks with Tourette's.
Perfect.
That's me. I have a vision. That's my success vision. So I feel like this has been me going through, and I know Colby as well, lots of stuff that I was hoping to talk about. I like that we really ranged over topics and didn't get too deep into the stuff that I know we're all interested in, but is changing every effing day.
Yeah.
But passing it over a little bit to you, like, is there any, like, what are you curious about these days, or what are the questions I should have asked that we didn't get into?
I think that though the tools and the capabilities of AI are changing, the principles of how you contend with it they've been pretty static. And so I think if people take a principled approach to AI, they will be able to withstand the chaos that is happening with different tools and different companies and different capabilities that are emerging every day, right? I mean, OpenAI had a new release every 3 days in 2025. It hasn't slowed down in 2026. You get this constant jockeying, right? So, I mean, for your listeners that don't normally hear from someone like me, the one thing I would say is the AI Daily Brief, which is about a 25-minute podcast, is it's been a game changer for me to stay up to date. That and his newsletter, combined with me setting up an agent within Perplexity that gives me a weekly digest of his content so that I'm getting sort of this reverberation. And it's the only, I don't normally single refer. I get nothing to send people there. It's just he's been somebody who has spoken English through this, and a good source. Coming back to the principles, etc. So you can rely on him to see the chaos and what's going on in the political infrastructure and the Chinese-US war and all that stuff. Come back to your own business, okay? I think that there is a need for you now to think about your AI roadmap. Every industry needs to contend with AI. So your AI roadmap ideally goes, what am I building? What is success? What's the size of the business? Where am I headed? What am I actually building? You got to get clarity over that. That's never changed. Where am I? Great. What's the first business constraint? Because your AI roadmap should make your number one business constraint less of a constraint for you. If that's marketing, if that's sales, if that's scheduling, if that's HR. But you generally either have too much business and you're not able to get it done, or you don't have enough business. It's normally one of those two business constraints. So which business constraint? And start to use AI to eliminate that constraint. Now, you rewire a workflow with today's AI capabilities. Now, you're probably going to want, if you're not in this arena, to find somebody who can at least act as a shepherd on what the different things can do. Because you got assistive and agentic AI, you have chatbots, and then you have harnesses. And there are really useful harnesses like Notebook LM, or it's called Gemini Notebook now, or like Claude Code or Perplexity Computer, but there aren't that many. And the reality is they're really easy to use once you kind of get over the initial friction point, and you can really enable a lot of stuff in your life. Like our sales process has been just dramatically changed by using Perplexity Computer to get to leads and then to open up conversations and to maintain relationships and to get ready for the day. So I'm diving a bit down in, but the principle here is find the business constraint, find the workflow that you need to re-engineer.
And I just, like, you correct me if I'm wrong, but the subtitle at the beginning that I resonated most with, not that I disagree with any of it, but is like, you still need to have an idea where you're trying to go.
You have to.
And you still need a clear idea of how you do what you do.
Yep.
Before you apply. Because you can't understand a constraint unless you know what you are doing to where you're trying to get to.
Somebody
and so I just, like, that's the message that I keep, like, it's just like this. there's the fundamentals, the basics, they're more important, not less important.
Yeah, they're more important, and they're brutally important that you be honest with yourself. Are you building a $1.2 million lifestyle business? Are you building a $600,000 lifestyle business? Are you taking something from 5 to 20 million? Are you stabilizing a $5 million business? These are questions you have to answer before you use AI.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, well, I could do either. Well, okay. But today, what the hell do you want to do? Like, because until you answer that question, I can't point to the area of the business we should start using it.
Yeah.
And I can't help you use it to make that function better. Right. So, and you'll do dramatically different things. So, look, you're going to rewire a workflow. You're going to integrate human and machine, whether it's human and ChatGPT, whether it's a human and Perplexity computer, that, fine. When you go to integrate human and machine, you're going to necessarily change the skill sets that human has to have. So you're going to update your org chart. You're going to update the competencies that you need in the organization. It's why really good AI deployments actually have AI sit. It's CEO led, and HR is responsible for stewarding it. Because the conceptual error that people make is that it's a tool when it's in fact a teammate, a crew, right? So let's get over that, and let's talk about competencies that need to change as you start to rewire how you're going to do work. And the fundamental change is you're going to go from doing the work to framing and verifying the work. You're not going to be an individual contributor. You're going to choreograph value, right? And I want to make this really clear for people, because it's either going to be done to you or you're going to do it. But you don't get to opt out of this. Even the people who want an analog experience, as we just talked about before, need to benefit from an AI-enabled backend.
Yeah.
Right? So let's not pretend that it's not coming. Now, the ways we're going to do this, the capabilities to do the work, single task, multitask, is going to shift all over the place in the next little bit. And we got the Wild West going on, right? Between open weight models in China and closed frontier models with OpenAI and Anthropic in the US, how they're going to be regulated, all that stuff is going to move all over the place. The thing is understand how you do the work, and you can then insert and take out different models, different applications to help you as you go along, right?
Yeah.
So my hope is that business owners take that away in this conversation and find a way to make sure that if you're responsible for the profitability of your business, for the sustainability of your business in the future, you cannot be ignorant to what AI is going to do to every workflow that directly drives value or supports value creation.
Yeah. It does put a lot of pressure on the business owner, like more than ever.
More than
like,
ever before.
Like the number of people I know who start a business or doing something entrepreneurial, because not all of them are like a for-profit business, aren't in it for growth. They're in it to solve a problem, to make a change, what have you. It's like, I mean, I don't know what you do when you start facilitation, but I write a couple things on the whiteboard. And one of them at the first is life's not fair. We'll keep coming back to this.
Yep. Yeah.
Levi's not ever going to be the expert in your business, no matter how confident he is, because it's just like, but like, it's not fair, but it's, one of my hopes is, and whether it's, because there are people I know who I want their business to succeed selfishly, and they're not going to adapt, and they're not going to take on that responsibility. And so my hope is that there's going to be a bit of a skip the step, like the people who skipped some of the models and learning, well, the tools they already use are going to build it in. Like their point of sale system, their booking system, their staff.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No?
No, so this is one of the areas where they're going to AI wash. They're going to introduce it into the softwares and stuff. But the people who are really winning are actually, and this is the next level, they're standing up custom software that they're able to develop in a couple of days that integrates with the way they're doing work. So it actually augments what they're doing. And the problem with software is that it forces you to change how you do work, which may not be optimal to the delivery of work. Yeah. So look, I think they're going to integrate it, and some are going to do it with varying levels of success. But if you're waiting for that to turbocharge your business, you're probably going to be a day late and a dollar short.
Yeah. I think unfortunately we're going to hit a lot of that.
No question. We're going to have a graveyard.
Yeah.
Look, Michael McGerber in the E-Myth. I mean, the classic thing, right? My grandfather was a roofer who started a roofing company. 70% plus businesses are started by technical founders who fell in hate with how someone else was doing it and started their own business. The baker started the bakery, the physio with the physio place. And those people are technically proficient in the value delivery. And they now have entered a world that requires them to learn how to integrate AI into supporting workflows so they can just do what they always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Jesus, that's exhausting.
Yeah. I'm wired just enough as a technician and geek that it thrills me, but I just see a lot of collateral damage.
There's a graveyard coming. There's a graveyard coming.
Yeah, you must, like, with Levership, you know, you work with all sorts of different businesses. You must, like, do you have an approach to kind of the people that are avoiding this?
Yeah. The first thing is, and you've both seen versions of what we deliver from an awareness session. The first thing is to take people through that, which is and for the most part, the feedback is you move from skeptic, fear, avoidance to excited about how it might be able to really help you. So we drive the awareness, and then we take an area that they need to make better for their business and help them see how and what AI could do in that area. And that generally starts we had one guy, he's a builder, and he's a self-admitted 80-year-old in a 39-year-old body who refused to acknowledge AI existed, literally. And now he's beyond where I am. Like, I have a plot on the back of my phone. This guy wears a thing around and records his entire day. Like, I'm still not at that point. That's where this guy is now. And guess what he's done with that? He now knows all his customer interactions. He can do his estimating processes much faster. His proposals are done with, like, he has taken it to a level that most of our companies are not over 6 months in leadership. And look, it's all him. We gave him the awareness and the ability to see workflows and what AI could do. And then some people, once they see it, they just drive at it, right? So what we're doing in leadership is first that awareness piece, and then going, look, let's really dig into one workflow so you can see this. And then we just keep hitting on it month after month with use cases and keep helping you see. So it just becomes normalized in how you're assessing what you might do in your business. And it's not this sort of weird thing that sits over here that I haven't touched yet.
That's that thing that he's wearing. Is that called Fieldy?
I think so. I hate the thing. Like, the glasses and that, I'm like, get that shit away from me. Like, I'm not ready for self-induced.
I've been because you have the Pocket AI, right?
I have the Plod. It's the Plod, and I find it great because I can turn it on and I can turn it off. It records both sides of a phone call. It's got SOC 2 compliant. It's a very good tool for me on the road and moving, but I still want to be in control of when I am surveilling myself.
Right. How many recorded, like, bowel movements are out there now that didn't need to exist?
Yeah.
This is the PhD study from 15 years from now.
100%. And yeah. Oh, yeah. There's lots of places to go there, but what I will tell you is that has helped me with my personal health. So I went and got labs done, and then put it into AI to understand it so I could ask intelligent questions. And, you know, like, there's things that I'm contending with right now, like low iron, which is not surprising for someone who runs marathons, but it's something that I have to contend with. I was like, why am I so goddamn tired? You know, like, I can, just like you, Levi, you can get in front of an audience and you can bring it up, but then afterwards you're like, Jesus. So why, and my iron is ridiculously low, and that's nothing that I would have caught without doing the labs, putting it in there. And of course, the company that called me afterwards on the labs, they wanted to sell me some bullshit on some other marker that really didn't need it. But the labs helped me identify what I was likely in. It knew my patterns. It knew my exercise patterns. It helped me. Now I've been able to navigate our health system and go and do that. So, you know, maybe not a bowel movement recording, but another health marker.
Any final questions, Colby?
Well,
scratch the brain at late afternoon.
What I've been having fun with is now that I have the golf simulator, I'll take that data and put it into, I use chat specifically for that. And it's fascinating what it's getting.
So it's funny you say that because, I mean, Colby, you would know I played competitive golf when I was growing up, but I have played, with the exception of 1 year in the last 20 years, I've played 2 to 3 times, mostly in a scramble. Most of the raw skills are still there. But this year I had a couple friends that said, I always had a bucket list item that I wanted to go do with Dad. Obviously, Dad passed away. We didn't get to play the old course together. And a couple of my friends from a couple of lifetimes ago when I taught English in Korea said, Matt, get to Dublin with your golf clubs on this day. I was like, what are we doing? Like, we've got something planned. We'd love, just get here. I'm like, okay. So I knew we were going to play a little bit of golf, and I wasn't going to go play golf anywhere in Ireland or Scotland without having at least a little bit of a swing. And Colby, to your point, AI went, okay, here's where I am. Here's where my miss is. Here's what's going on. And it basically said, look, here's the drills to get in. And I played probably 4 rounds before I went over there, but I did the range work and did the short game work that this plan produced for me. And look, shot the numbers over there, right? Like I was 75 on the old course. I was 71 at Carnoustie. These are numbers that I haven't shot in a decade. And it was simply from the targeted plan that AI was able to give me. And so, I mean, I think that's, if you have a degree of mastery in something and you can commandeer AI, Jesus, you become almost superhuman in deployment.
Yeah.
And that's what I hope all the technical founders take away from this, is that they are sitting at such a unique period in history to be able to benefit from their deep knowledge combined with a crew that can work with them to create value. That is just a shame to not see more of them. Drive at that.
No, agreed. And I just
definitely
heard
amplifies expertise for sure.
I don't know. I haven't tested this yet, but I mean, this is applicable in many different things, but it was trying to convince me last night that I'm able to take a video of my golf swing in slow motion and it can analyze it. So I haven't tried that yet, and I'm having a hard time believing it, but we will see. I will report back.
Just get it at the right angle. You get it too low, it'll give you bad tips. Watch out. It can, look, last time I checked, Colby, you're not a golf pro, so be careful what you believe on it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I believe everything.
So good.
No comment. Well, I think like we get to this point where I've covered a bunch of issues, and to go further, we just get shallower and shallower as we go.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before we close her up for today?
Look, thanks for doing this, guys. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of fun where the comfort level is already at the level that we have to be able to talk about real stuff. So you just get into the discussion, which has been great. And I also really admire the work that you guys are doing on business fundamentals. And I know you went through your own shift, but I know how many businesses just don't have those in place. And so I'm excited. I'm excited for the future for you guys. And I think the more businesses that get the type of clarity that you have, the better off we all will be.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is the year of focus. It's
perfect. Colby, you heard that, right? Levi's going to focus.
We're all going to focus.
Yeah, we're trying real hard. Yeah, it's more about what we're saying no to than what we're saying yes to.
Isn't that always the way?
Which we've known that forever today. But
doing gap, right? We're all trying to cross that chasm.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for this. This has been great. And I mean, this probably isn't the end. You're an easy person to find. I don't even need to tell people where to find you. You're a Googleable guy. So any preference on where they find you?
No, I mean, the old trick is that if you email the info@simplicity.ca, you'll end up in my inbox because I still do the triage on it. So you want to get at me, that's the quickest way. LinkedIn's another way. And look, my mantra is to help as many micro and small businesses contend with what we're contending with. So look, I hope to hear from anybody who wants to meaningfully get at it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Same here. This is great. All right. Thank you very much.
This episode of Built to Last is brought to you by Ironhouse Pro, your behind-the-scenes partner in building organizations designed to thrive. We specialize in solving the big challenges, the small annoyances, and everything in between. So while you're out there dreaming big, we're here making sure your systems, processes, and people are ready for tomorrow. Ironhouse Pro, driven to create lasting organizations. Learn more at ironhousepro.com.